The actual nuts and bolts of this story are talking about the incredible growth in El Salvador thanks to the adoption of Bitcoin made legal tender was at the very end of this piece. They couldn't ignore it. They couldn't pretend that it wasn't true because numbers are numbers and you need to put them into a story that includes all the numbers. The headline is fallacious. The headline is false. It suggests that somehow things are not going well. But by the end of the article, they say, actually, this is a genius stroke by the president, Bukele, because the frickin' country's growing like a weed.
Hello and welcome to Wealthy Value. In today's video, Bitcoin maximalists and hosts of Orange Pill podcast Max Keiser and Stacy Herbert talk about El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as a legal tender, increase in tourism in the country, and the incredible growth and benefits this opportunity has brought for them. They also discuss about the role of Bitcoin in giving people freedom in comparison to fiat-based economy and their thoughts about the deceptive headline of CNBC about Bitcoin. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video where Max and Stacy discuss how Bitcoin is improving the standard of life in El Salvador and how the collapse of traditional currencies is just proving Bitcoin's worth to everyone. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications. Let's dive right into the video.
This is a rebrand of a country.
For a mere, even if Bitcoin went to zero, they would still have achieved billions of dollars worth of an ad campaign, a marketing campaign for the country.
So Costa Rica called 60 billion, El Salvador 30 billion. I mean, is it unreasonable to think that El Salvador's GDP is going to catch up to Costa Rica in the next 2 or 3 years?
El Salvador is home of the Great Rebrand, one of the greatest rebrands in history, I would posit, in fact. And we're going to look at why we're also here because of that rebrand that not only brought us here, but also that we're here to reframe the headlines that the mainstream corporate media always puts out. This is what you and I have been doing for over a decade, is reframing how they position, often to the benefit that they do. Their headlines are to the benefit of the elite of the world that have already run our global economy and monetary systems into the ground. We're here to reframe it and explain why you need things like Bitcoin. So the Great Rebrand, let's look at their headline about the story of El Salvador and Bitcoin policy here after about 9 months of a Bitcoin law. El Salvador's $425 million Bitcoin experiment isn't saving the country's finances. So they go in and they give a few numbers. The headline number is 425 million. The article mentions 374 million as an estimate that includes all the cost of Bitcoin so far, including the purchases for the treasury, including the $170 million of airdrop, essentially, of Bitcoin of $30 that went to every citizen here, and including the cost of building the infrastructure. So they say it's 374 million, that this is the cost that they have endured, and that they now have a $50 million paper loss. So we're going to go into some of the details, which then the article itself, their own data, the financial data, shows that in fact, despite their headline, it is not a failure. It is actually a roaring success.
Right, so getting back to El Salvador, where the president has made Bitcoin legal tender, you do have a tremendous knock-on effect. You've got tourist dollars pouring in and to the tune of hundreds of millions. Investment, forward investment into the country, inward investment is being calculated in the billions. When you add it all together, the question is, how do you see it going forward in the short, medium, and long term? Well, recently the president hosted 44 central bankers. They came here to El Salvador as part of a regularly scheduled program, but they got into Bitcoin quite extensively. They've got their wallets, they're trading Bitcoin. They've now gone back to their respective countries and they're orange pilling the world. And it's mostly the global south, Nick. So is this a trend to look forward to, that it's going to be the global south to lead the way in this hyper Bitcoinized world we're going to see in the next few years? El Salvador has the potential to similarly attract the best and the brightest with perfect money, with Bitcoin. It's already happening. So the tourists come. This leads to, in the tourism sector anyway, you've got an increase in hotels, which increases the workers, which increases the income, which increases GDP, which increases the adoption of Bitcoin, which increases tourism, which increases the hotels. So you get this virtuous cycle building up, just like in Florence, It's all around Bitcoin. You've got the President Bukele, which is like the Medici of Central America. These other countries in Central America are looking at El Salvador and they're saying, you know, how do we get in on some of this action? And it really has become the land of the free. People who are tired of the oppression that's happening in some of these other fiat-based economies. And fiat money is oppression. Fiat money is slavery. Fiat money is kind of the end of humanity as we know it, whereas Bitcoin is a continuation.
Is that the place that El Salvador is going is to the place we want it to be. So we are building the future. The people of this nation, the people moving to this nation, we're building the future that we want to see. So here is their data that this article, the headline says it's a failure, right? This is towards the very end of a pretty long article on CNBC, which is a financial news network and online platform.
So this financial headline, which talks about all the sunk costs and the waste of money, is completely wrong. I mean, they're missing the point. They don't understand that this is an investment that will ultimately rise, as of course Bitcoin is programmed to increase purchasing power against fiat money, mathematically guaranteed to do so. Meanwhile, you've got all this boom times in terms of people coming here and participating in a brand new emerging force of excitement, and they've got so many natural resources and energy. It's quite something.
And I also want to point out that, of course, you know, Medici, he wasn't flipping art. Like, he didn't invest in Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci because he was hoping to flip it to somebody. That was the marketing cost of Florence and his understanding of legacy and the future.
The yen, in all this globalized forex trading, sometimes the yen gets overlooked. It is a major funding currency in that it's been used by speculators to borrow and then invest in higher yielding currencies around the world, the so-called carry trade. It's sold off hard in the past few weeks. Yield curve control seems to be faltering. What next? And does any of this matter for the Fed's plans to perhaps do the same? Cynthia Lummis, senator from Wyoming, has got a bill in Washington she's trying to get passed. They're figuring out at what threshold would constitute a taxable event. Is it $600, for example? And this is the kind of fine-tuning that's going on. But in your mind, as I understand it, you're just saying, look, just treat Bitcoin as money, and you don't need to waste a lot of time with all this other bureaucracy that accompanies it. That's a big waste of time.
So, what are your thoughts about Max's perspective on Bitcoin adoption and future prospects? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.